Good morning, Tara.
Morning.
Good morning, team. Can you hear me? Have I got sound?
Yes, yes.
What a blessing. Oh, we've got the team all in. So welcome to CDU Waterfront. We're on the waterfront, so we've got all sorts of action behind us. So it's going to be very exciting. So we'll watch sound. Now, Doug, what are we wearing this morning, Doug? What have we got?
Apparently it's called a muscle top, but I just needed something lighter than a singlet and it's too hot for a t-shirt because it's I don't like summer. So
That's great. As long as I've got an identifiable noun I can deploy for you, Doug, that's tremendous. No, you're looking rugged there. I mean, Lorraine was straight in there going, yeah, I was going to say we all sort of would do it if I could make my frock. Oh, and Gay's sort of with the sort of muscle arm work as well. So Donna, we missed this memo.
It's hot here.
Is it?
I'm sorry. I apologize, Tara. I know you're in Darwin, but it's hot here too.
Yes, look, I understand it's relative. It's relative. Oh, and Kate's in looking glamorous as always. Good morning, Kate. We've really missed the arm out memo today. Good on you, Kate. Oh, God, I think we're going somewhere else there, Kate. Unbelievable. So Donna's joined us from the middle of the night. We are thrilled to see you. Donna, how are you, my angel?
I'm very well, thank you. It's certainly not warm here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's been really wet, damp and miserable in the pre-Christmas period. So, yeah.
And you always
especially Doug, and I've got to have my sleeves on, Doug.
But you always hope there's just a little bit of snow, that the drizzle and the rain and the grey becomes snow just before Christmas. Oh,
look at Liam.
I was going to say. So we're going to talk a lot with Liam. And by the way, I'll obviously talk about the elephant in the room. Gay, have you had a haircut? We've tied it back. Oh, very glamorous. Thank you, Gay.
It's hot. That's why it's climbing. I do apologize. I will make it look like me.
No. I thought we'd had a haircut. Oh, hello. That's fantastic. Oh my God, it's all happening. So look, and wonderful Sue's in. Good morning, Sue. It is lovely to see you from the legendary Mount Gambier. Morning, darling one. See if we can.
Good morning. It's lovely to see you too.
Oh, you're fantastic. And Josh is in the house. Hello, Josh.
Morning, everyone.
How are you going?
Well, quite cool.
That's fantastic. Now we've got a lot of homework to do today, but I did want to start, as most of us have been worried through the week, I want to start with a chat with Liam if we can, and talk through, Queen Mary's just joining, that's tremendous too. So Liam, really interested in talking with you at the moment, and obviously good morning, Queen Mary. A lot of people, I'm loving the sort of, what would we call that? Like a burnt orange. It's a beautiful color. Liam, I'm really interested firstly in how you're going and just keeping you with us and protected by us. But also, Liam, people have been concerned about, being the early career researcher and been terribly inspired by you and worried about you. So Liam, do you want to speak to that for yourself, but also for the people that are watching this?
Oh, hi everybody. I'm from the middle of the evening in the UK. Yeah, so I've had some quite interesting contacts from people saying, my story has inspired them to speak about their early career trajectory and bring honesty to how that feels. I had a conversation with one of my PhD buddies, a rather unexpected one today, actually. She phoned me after not been in contact for over 18 months.
Yes.
So lovely Halima, she graduates on Monday, so hello. And we spoke about the difficulties of being in post and out of post, and
Yes.
it just kind of made me realize that, I've still got a long way to go, but, I'm not giving up. And I had a lovely, inspiring day with one of my really beloved colleagues, Alison, who of course, and it gave me so much food for thought and inspiration. And I just thought, right, okay, you know, I need to see this for what it is. And I thought, and Alison was saying to me, you are needed in this institution, like you are needed here. So, you know, you're not going anywhere. And I was like, okay. As a senior academic, I was listening to what she had to say to me, but also it was really authentic and it was real.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really kind of treasured over that week. But yeah, hello guys, and thank you for having conversations with me during this week and reaching out as well. I've really appreciated that. So yeah, it's, you know, this week is a different week. So
Bless you, Liam, and good morning, Kyles. The lady in red is with us. Now, Liam, I want to, again, just to your level of comfort, Liam, okay, just to your level of comfort, what has been happening? Is it just simply 24/7 work? Is it, you know, so many priorities that you can't even see straight? What if you were explaining to other people the scale of what you're going through, what would you say, Liam?
it's just UK higher education all in all. At the moment, it's been horrendous the last 18 months. So I've had colleagues who have been managed out of positions. They've arrived at work one day and they found that they've no longer got a job. The people have been managing institutions that necessarily may not have done that before, and it's been really, really difficult. And I'm finding the post-PhD trajectory, even though, you know, I am in open-ended posts, really, really difficult to try and carve out my own research trajectory. And I got really fed up at one point. And I'm possibly feeling as well the strain of, you know, running multiple modules, doing multiple things and juggling multiple responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's just really difficult. And, you know, it comes to a point, I think, as the semester reaches a peak, it comes to a point where, you know, so I think it's okay to say that, you know, I've struggled.
Yes.
This isn't the worst battle I've faced, by no stretch of the imagination. If we go back to 2017, 2018, before I did my PhD, I was in academia very precariously for a number of years before that as a contract and
Yes.
teaching lecturer on a very precarious contract. And it got to the point where in 2018, I had a series of health problems. I was also a victim of a crime where I was very badly injured.
Yes.
And the physical and mental recovery as a result of that was really, really difficult. And I've spoken about that on broadcast radio, about serious youth violence. It's also a research interest of mine as well.
Yes.
So just bringing kind of truth and honesty to these multiple issues and how they manifest. And, you know, when students want to talk about these issues as well, that's also unraveling a lot of, issues, so to speak, in a different capacity.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot going on, but you know, I'm okay. But also, you know, academia wasn't my first career and it won't be my last. So,
Yes.
you know,
Oh, Liam, I think
that's all I'll say.
you're going to change people's lives through this, and the horror of so much of academic life at the moment you've expressed so clearly. We'll talk with other colleagues as well. Kylie's seeing it from a very different lens as well, and nodding. And we've seen all her inspirational quotes on Facebook that have increased to about 25 a day at this point. So I think, Kylie, we read what's happening in the university inversely with the number of motivational posts you present each day. But Liam, if it helps you, in my first full-time job, and it was just a 1-year contract job when I went to New Zealand, I remember, and I was very young and, you know, very stupid, and you're magnificent and much more sensible than I was. But I always remember, I think I'd been there 1 week and it was freezing. It was Wellington and there was no support. I had no money. I arrived, just nothing. There was just nothing. There was just nothing, Liam. And I remember laying in bed and just absolutely sobbing, absolutely going, what have I done? I've left my friends, I've left my family, I've left everything I've known, and I'm here. and I'm just not managing. And I had this horrific realization that if I left, if I just went home, I would never get another academic job again because of the ruthlessness of the system. So, you know, that's what it's been like since, you know, I was 23, whereby
Yeah.
you simply, and it's horrific, and it's personal torture and it's professional torture, and it's relentless. It's day after day after day. And you have to decide. You often heard me say this, Liam, you and I talked about this through COVID, but life is about managing disappointment. And where we put those disappointments in a way that, you know, can be compartmentalized, if you like, and don't infect the rest of our lives. But, you know, there's no, you know, there's no fairy tale here, Liam.
No, it can't be romanticized.
No, and I think it's so important that we don't do that, because we have so many of our younger PhD students, as you know, Liam, that, you know, the academic life is seen to be this beautiful existence. And, you know, it's 18-hour days, it's 7 days a week. You know, you don't get holidays, you don't get leave, you put up with a fair amount of abuse, you get at least 10 or perhaps 20 really, really crappy emails a day from people that would like to shove your face in a bin. And this is just not pleasant. So what we do with this culture is the next question, isn't it, Liam?
Absolutely. I was speaking to Alison earlier this week at a training session at work, and we were just comparing notes about what I did in my last post before I arrived at my current place, and what she was doing last year. And we were both working like 75 to 80-hour weeks, just to make sure that students were on an okay keel. And it was really, really difficult. And, you know, we're both managing different proxies, different experiences. You know, my colleague's a lot more experienced than I am and has seen multiple iterations of UK higher education, as you know.
Yes.
So yeah, that's just I'm taking that kind of friendly advice, and also caring and nurturingness. Like, I'm glad I've got that in my current institution from you know, quite a few people, especially our mutual friend. So that's,
and if you can,
you know,
find it, isn't it? If there are a few good people, it can make a huge difference, Liam. But I just need you to know that we've got you and we're walking with you, all right? And, you know, I'm not going anywhere, and we'll just keep making a day for you. Just get through the day. Most days in higher education at the moment, it's 30 minutes at a time. It's that appalling. So, but we're with you for those 30 minutes at a time. I wonder if I can get Kylie to swing in at this point. Kyles, I know you've got about 57 things going on. Kyles, obviously you've got this interesting situation whereby you're doing a PhD, you're a student, but you're also working as a professional staff member in facilities and so forth as our fantastic glamorous engineer. But what's your vista on the state of these universities at the moment?
It really amazes me. And thank you, Liam. Like, I've thought of you all this week, the hard week that I've had as well. I've been sick with the flu as well, so that hasn't helped. But just feeling for you, mate. So from the other side of the world. It's really funny. I know the amount of times I've said to people that we teach all this good management stuff, leadership, all engineering, how to do things properly. We don't do it well when we're not teaching it, sort of thing. So we're not listening to our own information that we're trying to sell. But I think there's a lot of people that have been caught up in the academic world who just don't know what happens in the real world. Like, industry's bad, and it'll go through times and ups and downs, and where it's shit, but then it'll get better. I think they just think this is the whole, it's like high school. Sorry, I'm going to really, it's like high school, where you're just going to have the bullies, and you're going to have the people that are just nasty, and you just want to give them six in the guts out the back of the toilet block, because there's a big world out there, and we're not special. I'm sick of saying that here, is we're not special. We're just the same as the rest of the world. But they seem to think they are. So
yeah, it is,
does
like,
that make sense?
It does. It's sort of like living in an episode of Mean Girls, isn't it?
Yeah. But Mean Girls are really dumb. Sorry.
Unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
but Carl, you're right. I think all the advice you've even said, there's nothing special here. There's nothing. You're not like the chosen person that's walking through heaven. It's like this is a very complicated workplace, and because it seemed to be a step away from the conventional workplace, the normal and normative rules don't apply about civility, decency, respect, professionalism, and a separation of the personal and the professional too, Carl. You know, we're used to in workplaces, you know, this is a workplace, and then you go home.
Yeah.
You have a private life. I think when it starts to blur and merge, as happening in universities at the moment, it gets really problematic.
But I'll pick up what you said before, Tara. Sorry, that find the good people. Find the good people, because they will step you up. I know I've had a couple of phone calls this week, especially one of from my supervisor. He is so beautiful, and he's just like, find that happy, bubbly, cheerful Kylie that people gravitate to. They're your people, not these people that are mean. No.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Carl. This is shocking, isn't it? And look, I will go. And by the way, we can see Jess is in. How glamorous is Jess, by the way? Do we notice the glasses are off this week? And it's just we're just on the lounge suite having a time. But can I go to Josh before we go to Queen Jess and check in? Now, Josh, obviously, I've been thinking about you and the relationship with Liam, because you're building this career up now as well. How are you going, Josh?
Oh, it's been wonderful getting to listen to Liam this year. I'm really grateful that even though you're going through so much, you still take the chance to share, because I think, you know, I finished my PhD in September, so I'm probably, you know, trajectory wise 12 months, 18 months behind where you're at. So it's been really good to listen to what's coming, and to align my expectations to what's going to be happening as an early career researcher in 2023 in a teaching role. I think one of the more helpful things that's gotten me through times like that, because I still work with my university in Australia, is I think it was your concept of outside the tent, Tara, of just having, and I still do it, and that's why I mainly do a lot of this meta research stuff separate to my PhD topic. And I, you know, even if I only get to do a couple of hours of it a week, it's entirely my own thing. And I think it's that pay yourself first that's kept me as sane as possible at times. Yeah. And I have my one other person that I completely trust in my workplace. And it sounds like you've got that too, Liam. And I feel like that's all you need sometimes, is just one other person that's there with you, and you know that you interact at a human level. And it makes all the difference, I think, sometimes.
Oh, brilliant. And as you've said, Josh, I think the only reason I'm sort of still alive and upright is that I decided to pay myself first. And that allows you to center yourself, produce your own work, remember who you are as a human, as a scholar, as an intellectual. And then once you're well, at least is a little bit fuller, you can then give to others. But if there's nothing there, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Unbelievable. So go, Liam, darling.
Sorry, I just wanted to say there's been a report out in the UK, and this can probably give a lot of credence to the context in which I'm talking about. Our undergraduate students are working 48-hour weeks on average outside of university in very, very precarious work, somewhat dangerous. The communication that I've had from undergraduate students this week about the harassment, about the kind of dangerous situations that they're put in these very precarious places of work, often in the service industry, post-COVID, is extremely concerning. And I've been dealing with the consequences of that across the two institutions I've worked at in the last 2 years, as a result of just no regard for their welfare or care or all of that. And I have to say that our undergraduate students and some of our master students as well, who are self-funding, are really, really, really struggling. And, you know, it does go back to a context of, you know, throughout time, that's always been the case. But we're on the extreme end of the spectrum in the UK. So, for example, we've had unprecedented welfare cuts to state benefits. This is partly my research as well, speaking here. but also as well, just in terms of young people going to university as a form of escapism to try and get themselves onto some financial even keel, and then having to work full-time jobs basically on top of coming to university. Like I had a student who had been caring throughout the night, and then came to a 10 o'clock research methods class, absolutely exhausted. And they'd been working in a care home for infirm older adults. So just the difficulties there, it's just astounding, and strength to them as well, because they're my strength as well.
Oh, look, it's amazing. And Lorraine, I saw you discussing this too. This is obviously part of so much of your research too, about the, you know, the groups in our culture that are on the edge, that are so often neglected and abused or dismissed, and are working every hour God sends to just try and make a living, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Even, you know, going back to looking at the behaviours that go on in institutions. So, you know, myself, I recently resigned from an education position that I had. Lots of workplace bullying, and we all know that that should not happen, and that we've got, but in reality, it does everywhere. And really, people know how to work the system. You know, I'm just glad that the industrial manslaughter has just been passed last week, or been passed in the bill. It will start rolling out in the middle of 2024. That really holds businesses, you know, accountable for any psychosocial damage to people caused. Then there's up to like 20 years imprisonment and like $180,000 fine. You know, so hopefully that starts to shock companies and, you know, people in responsible positions, managers, to know that they cannot keep sweeping under the carpet and turning a blind eye when they know full well the staff that are bullying other staff and students.
Yes.
You know, and just going, oh, they're too hard to deal with, so I'll just turn away and make out I can't see it. They will be the ones that will be held accountable. And let's just hope that it's not a toothless tiger thing from, you know, Safe Work, that they actually do start prosecuting people when the evidence is clearly there. Yeah.
So strong, so important, Lorraine. And Lorraine, how are you feeling now? Because it's always that issue upon the resignation. I did wonder if you wanted to speak to that. That's why I gave you the space for that. But
Thank you.
But how it feels to put that down. So to have this environment, we can use whatever adjective you like, and then to actually put that job down, put the stress down, and take a breath.
I found at first there was a huge loss of identity. So my role, you know, that I was incredibly passionate about being a lecturer. And I love that. I love teaching. I love passing on experience and knowledge to other people, and nurturing those who are underconfident in that area, particularly a mature age student who's had their messages from being young, that you don't need to be educated, you know, you just, you know, for females particularly, you just need to be a wife and a mother, which was very much my experience. So it took me many years to get over education phobia. So just nurturing and making sure that everybody knows you are worthy of education, and you have the intelligence. We are all intelligent. It's how are you intelligent, not how intelligent are you. And I will help draw out your skills, and you will pass this course with my support and belief in yourself. So at first I really missed that. It was really hard to get over. But what I found, Tara, is towards the end of a very long journey of watching and experiencing myself, that kind of behavior directed at people, I can only liken it to a sense of moral injury, where I felt by being in the room, I was a part of it, even though I very much was not a part of it. I was trying frantically behind the scenes to do something to get this behaviour contained and stopped and moved away. So I was actually laying in bed at night feeling guilt and carrying this heavy burden when I wasn't a part of it, but felt helpless because the managers was not doing anything either. So it was that decision in the end, and then my PhD on top of that, which came in really, really timely. And I was like, you know what, this makes real sense to me. This will be impacted if I'm continuing with that. So I made that decision that I would leave. But yeah, it wasn't an easy decision, but I'm thankful.
And we are so thankful
Yeah.
for you in our lives, but I'm sure all of us are thinking this remarkable human being that is so transformative, particularly for working class education, because working class kids, working class adults, and a lot of us come from this background.
Yeah.
When we come to a university, we don't belong, and it's clear at accent and language and hair and everything that we don't belong. And when astonishing humans like Lorraine are actually teaching in a university, it can provide modeling and mentoring and all those things, but also you can decode, you can translate between classes. So the idea that Lorraine has resigned from that is quite upsetting, is disturbing and worrying. But still, Lorraine, I think you probably need to just, and I'll use the word heal. We've got experts on this call. I'll go to Donna, but you've really got to sort of get that well back up. And I think the problem with the contemporary university sector, I think, is that the bullies, the people that exploit and rip off get on. They're the people that succeed. That's how you get promoted. And that's, I don't know what we do with that. I don't know what we do with that. And Queen Jess is straight in. Good morning.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I have to say I've worked in education for over 20 years, and I completely get what Liam and Lorraine are talking about. Part of the reason why I never left teaching, because I didn't enjoy teaching. I love working with students. I love working with children and adult students. It brings me so much joy. What pushed me out of that area was, well, you all know I hate jumping through hoops, and education is becoming more and more about spreadsheets and jumping through hoops and looking like you're doing the right thing, rather than doing the right thing because it's what you love and you're passionate about it. And I have to say that I actually did a stint earlier in the year. I did a semester teaching a couple of subjects at uni because I thought it would be different. I thought, oh yeah, they, adult learners. And it wasn't, I really loved teaching the students. I loved the content. I loved connecting with them. Our lectures always went sideways. Someone would ask a question, and next minute we've spent 30 minutes of our lecture discussing the meaning of life. And and then I'd be like racing through these slides and saying, oh, and read the rest in your own time. And it was really fun. And what I didn't enjoy was all the other stuff. And I don't know why, when we were talking about this, when Lorraine and Liam were talking about this, it really rang true. The research I'm doing now on trauma-informed processes. Universities need to be trauma-informed. And what that means, it's not just about understanding that students come into our classrooms and lecture theatres with trauma. Trauma is also about looking inwards and owning your own stuff and knowing what you're bringing into the room with you. Because if you can learn about your stuff, like what Liam was talking about, and he's really he knows what he's been through, and he knows that he's bringing that experience into the room with him, and he can look at that objectively and go, okay, I'm feeling frustrated now. It's not about student behavior or what's going on. It's actually, this is my stuff that's coming up. You're in a much better position to contain that. And what we've found through heart rate variability studies, researchers have found that the state in which you enter a room is contagious. So if you can ground, hold your space, do your work even before walking into that lecture, or walking into, like I'm applying it to audiology settings, before you walk into something with a client, they've hooked people up to monitors, and they've found that after a certain amount of time in a room with someone who's really regulated, other people's heart rate variability starts to even out with the person who's leading the room Like there's this whole coherent state that comes from one person entering a room and holding space. That's trauma informed. That's what we need to be doing. So can you, Tara, once I finish this project,
Yes.
get me in there to teach this to lecturers, because lecturers and teachers don't leave organizations because they don't love teaching. They started because they love teaching. They still love teaching. They don't like the organization. They're done. They're sick of being used and they're sick of being taken for granted.
That's right. And see, my concern, Jess, and we'll go to Josh now too, but how do we fix this? You know, I mean, I'm 54. I've worked in university since I was 21, and it's got worse. It's got worse.
Because nobody's looking inwards. That's how we fix it. If everybody, even the people at the very top of the universities, look inwards and look at what they're bringing and do their work so that they come to work centered and calm and, with endless time. You know, people that always feel like they never have enough time. There's not enough time. There is enough time. It's your internal state that's got you in a panic and you feel like you've got no time, and precious, yes, but say no. I'm not doing that this weekend. I'm not, and I know it's really hard. But I had to get really good at that or I was getting sucked down the plug hole.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm a big believer in no, and I'm a big believer in boundaries, and I'm a big believer in decisions. And the three make a real difference, I think. But we'll come back to what can happen with the system too. But let's go to the legendary Josh. Josh, how are you feeling, mate?
Oh, I love listening to your story then, Lorraine. It was just very inspiring. Yeah, I think Kylie touched on it in the chat, the idea of how whistleblowers are treated in the university, and that's what I feel is the big snag with this, is that for me, I went through a fair bit of stuff, and I really, really thought about trying to not publicize it, but to complain and to make it an official issue. And the language and the clauses in the policy of the university that got me silenced was around defamation or vexatious claims. And I just think in such a power differential, it's so easy to switch that around onto the person that's complaining. And so what I ended up doing was sort of testing the waters. I had a situation where a particular person ended up trying to falsify authorship documents on our repository online. And so I went, I can screenshot this. So ignoring everything else, I took that screenshot and I sent it through, and it ended up at dean level where it was escalated, and I ended up getting told screenshot can't be verified. So even with concrete evidence at a dean level in universities, there was nothing that was done. And so I don't know what the answer is to it, but I just think, the people at the top aren't, you're absolutely doing something, Tara, but I think not everyone at your level has the same attitude as you. And that's what keeps us stuck.
Yeah, look, I think, Josh, that's very powerful. I think it's the fear. And I mean, Jess, again, you're the expert on this, but if one moves through life with fear and frightened of what's going to happen, you sort of got to let it go. And the moment I realized, Josh, that, tomorrow's not promised, and all you've got is a good day today, and you may not be in work tomorrow, you've got to let that go. You've got to sort of disconnect that if I behave in a particular way, then they'll like me and I'll stay in work. And once you start to cut up that narrative, I think it gives you some peace in the chaos. It gives you some peace, I think. Jess, does that work with your research or no?
Yeah, I was just actually writing this back to Kylie in the chat, but I'll say it, Kylie, that absolutely we can't let these interactions that we're having rock our little internal boats. And sometimes they completely tip over and we fall in a heap, and it takes us a while to put them back up and get the oars back in and start rowing again. That's absolutely what happens. And there's definitely tools that we can teach that can help protect us from these waves. We can build our boats, like I call it, internal containers, and this capacity to cope. We can build these up so that our boats aren't little tiny rowboats. We've got these massive ships, that even though there's big waves, they hardly move. You know, this is what we want to build in people, and this is what trauma-informed processes in organizations is all about. It's about building everybody's capacity, and then those people that, as Kylie was saying, come into meetings all flustered and kind of change the feel of the room. Everybody leaves flustered. The more people that can learn these techniques to sort of really hold themselves in steady and with ease, it's contagious. Those people that come in flustered then find themselves not feeling so flustered by the meeting. You can flip it. So instead of them tipping your boat, you can actually calm their waters so that their boat's not so, because their internal boat is just tipped. They're already tipped over before they entered the meeting, but sounds at things.
And Jess, this is perhaps an appropriate moment. Can I introduce Vice Chancellor Scott Bowman?
I'm getting all close.
Let's get you.
Hello.
I'm getting close and personal.
Now, this is digital office hours for our higher degree students. So we've been talking. I mean, so we're heading up to a meeting shortly. So the boss is dropped in for 5 minutes. We have been discussing leadership in universities. We have been discussing trauma and bullying and how people survive in difficult times in a university, boss. And we've got some colleagues that have left universities and coming back and returning. Have you got a view on that?
Look, I just think for a lot of us in universities, difficult times are normal times. We just seem to, it's pretty tough being in universities. And I dare say, I'd probably say particularly in regional universities. And I think just financially, you know, you probably don't worry too much about this, but I always feel we're walking along the edge of a cliff and we have a puff of wind one way, and that's really great. We move in from the cliff edge. But if we have a puff the other way, then we're holding on, clinging on. And that leads to some, you know, difficult things. You know, we always seem to be talking about belt tightening and saving money. And that, I think, puts a lot of stress and tension on people. And that, I think, sometimes manifests in those behaviours you've been talking about, bullying. I mean, some people are just shits and shouldn't be working in universities. But I think there's a lot of people under pressure.
Boss, have you got any advice, not only for our crew, but also for me, for those of us that have had this incredibly unstable working environment, move from university to university? It feels so bloody unstable, boss. Is it actually unstable, or is that in our heads? Is there a way for us to stabilise this working environment?
Well, first of all, it's probably a lot more. We're down in the detail. We're right at the cutting edge. It's difficult to do, but if you take a helicopter view, and if you can sort of come above that, you find that universities are very resilient as organisations. I mean, you know, I've been in Australia 25 years, and there's always been one or two universities say they're going to the wall, they're going to go broke, they're going to go out of business. Well, when did you ever see that? Definitely in my 25 years, I haven't seen. Well,
Liam's joining us from Leeds.
Okay.
So Leeds is going a bit tough at the moment, isn't it, Liam?
Well, other regional universities in the West Yorkshire area there was a neighbouring university that basically they made a lot of staff redundant literally overnight. And it's happened at one of Tara's former institutions as well in the northwest of England. Literally overnight, they just basically got rid of staff after 25 years on that journey, and they'd never worked anywhere else and were close to retirement, so couldn't work anywhere else.
But Liam, interestingly, Scott, Vice Chancellor Scott Bowman, could have made that decision 6-7 months ago and decided not to, and I respect him enormously for that.
Yeah, look,
absolutely.
Look, I've been in that situation, Liam, where we've just had no alternative. You know, it was literally, we were out of money. We had about 2 pays in the bank, not at this university, but another one. And you've just got to do something quickly. I think you've got to do it with kindness. You've got to be straight with people. You've got to apologize. If you're the leader, you've got to apologize, because it comes down to you. I'm really interested to hear which institution in Northwest it was, because I was at St Martin's College, which I think became University of Cumbria for a long time.
This was Bolton, was it?
Oh, Bolton. Okay. So sorry, getting back to that. So I think on the whole, Australian universities, different picture in the UK, because basically a few years back, after I'd left, they let 1,000 flowers bloom, and suddenly you had lots and lots of universities.
It's true.
Over here, we haven't had that in the university sector, but we have had it in the TAFE sector. We've had thousands of colleges coming up. In terms of, I think, what you have to do as a leader and what Tara's referring to, we hit a financial brick wall back in January, February. And there was a quick fix. I mean, we could have put the finances of the university back into order, run a surplus this year, but we would have had to make between 75 and 100 people redundant. Now, when we looked at the finances, we decided that we had enough reserves to see ourselves through this difficult time. We wouldn't do the fix in 5 months and do a big redundancy round. We'd do it over 2 years. So we'd start, being careful about our expenditure. So we'd be really careful. We'd look to build activity up. So this year, you will see this uni will report a deficit, and you will see that we'll report a deficit next year. But in 25, we will come back into surplus. Now, you could say, well, that's terrible. You've actually wasted, 20 million that you need and have wasted. I don't think, I'd rather waste a bit of money than waste people. And I think I'm going to do a Tara.
No, this is so important, Scott, because this is the honesty that we're not currently getting in some contexts. And I think that, if that was presented to me as a relatively junior colleague, I could rationalize that, and that's authentic leadership. And some people are not doing that, so credit to you as well, and your team.
Yeah, look, I think so just going back, so I think overall institutions in Australia tend to be very resilient, they survive, but I think you're right, Liam, they can burn a lot of people on the way, and all unis in Australia are doing it tough at the moment. I mean, we thought we'd put COVID behind us. COVID's not going to be behind us for a couple of generations. It really isn't. I mean, and so in the aftermath, we're all doing it tough, and we have seen big layoffs in universities, but we've managed to not put it off. We've managed to avoid it. But I think what's really important to me is in leadership is that authentic leadership. Look, I'm from a really working class family in the UK. I didn't go to university. I failed school miserably. They were never anyway. So I can't pretend to be Brian Schmidt, the Nobel Prize winner. I mean, Brian's a very authentic leader, but he's a very different person to me. So we're very different leaders. But if I tried to pretend to be Brian Schmidt or some toffee-nosed Vice Chancellor from the UK, I'd just fall flat on my face. So that authenticness is important. The other thing is to lead. I mean, it is to lead. And for me, leadership is really, when I was at Lancaster, I used to do a lot of mountaineering. You wouldn't know it to look at me now, but in the lakes and up in Scotland. And I learned probably more about leadership in the mountains than anywhere else. And the first thing about leadership is, which mountain are we going to climb? And what are we trying to do? We're trying to climb that mountain and then becoming very focused on that, and then putting the team that you really have absolute faith in to go up that mountain with you, to hold the end of the rope, and then get the resources together to climb the mountain. I see too much, I think, leadership where people have been put into positions of leadership and then they become led. So they become led by, and I see this more amongst politicians, like, you know, they get elected to lead and then they become led by opinion polls and focus groups. And the same with the university, you see VCs that are getting led by, you know, all sorts of stupid things rather than saying, nah, screw it, that's the mountain we're going to climb. Sometimes we're going to be unpopular. Sometimes we're going to get the government's nose out of joint, but that's the mountain we climb. You know, for me, yeah, and this relates to probably once every other month, I get a complaint from government about one or other of our researchers that they are coming up with findings which are going to damage the economic development of this place or that place. They're coming up with findings that are going to embarrass the government, you know. And I just say, well, screw it. If you want a strong university, you've got to have independent academics. And, you know, you'd love crowing about that you've got this great university. Well, you're going to have academics that are going to say things you're not going to like from time to time. And then it's our duty, Tara and mine, to actually defend them to the hill. You know, I had one when I was at James Cook University, all hell let loose because one of our researchers discovered that the breeding ground for Irukandji jellyfish was next to Fitzroy Island, and the tourist operators went apeshit, you know. But that was true.
So
Yeah.
what do you do? Colleagues, can I say what a remarkable human being? People often shut up. People often ask why I came to CDU. I get that question a lot, boss. Can you now see why I did, Mary? Vice Chancellor, I'm so grateful for your time.
Yeah, look, it's really great to meet you. I say guys, but I always mean men and women, but I'm not sure whether that's inclusive language anymore. But anyway.
Harley's an engineer. She's cool.
Okay.
She's cool.
It's great.
It's inclusive. It's inclusive.
I mean it in an inclusive way. That's what people say when they've just been racist or sexist.
Yeah, I've been called a lot worse.
Anyway, it's really good to meet you. Look, all PhD students, it's a tough road. It's a tough road. And I remember it well. And I'm living with a partner that's going through it at the moment. So I share your agonies. I'm sure I should be saying something very positive, but
no, they know.
But
they know.
Stick at it. It really is like banging your head against a brick wall. It is so nice when you've finished and you've got that PhD. Have a fantastic Christmas. Did someone want to
Eunice,
say something?
hi, Eunice. Eunice, do you want to say hi to Scott?
I do. Thank you so much. I put a little note in the comments. Yeah, it's just so refreshing to hear such honesty because we always feel like the people up there are such high, such higher level than we could ever possibly, aspire to achieve. So it's just absolutely remarkable. And I actually studied just a small course, just a grad cert at CDU. Last year before, I think, and it was the most warm and friendly experience I've ever had. And I've worked in the university for over 20 years, and it really has stood out as a very warm memory in my mind.
It's lovely. It's fantastic to hear you say that, Eunice, because we put those values in place, which we tried to capture the essence of the university. So they're a bit about our identity, but they're a bit aspirational as well. And, those ones of kindness are really important. So when I'm having a grumpy mood, which is quite often, someone from my office will say, kindness. So we do pick up each other on the values, or, is that really inclusive? Is it really, innovative? So we do that. So it's great to hear you say that. I've finished with one story about that. You think that we're all, everyone in the Chancellery is up here. I've just been driving around this morning and I had an interview of one of our Pro Vice Chancellors. Anyone in the School of Health or Faculty of Health?
Jess's, one
Yeah,
of Jess.
well, I'm just checking that he's not around. Dominic Upton, who's Professor Dominic Upton, who's our PVC.
Wonderful man.
And I heard him giving an interview on the radio. God, he sounded good.
Yeah.
And when I see him, I'm gonna say, Dominic, God, you sounded good. You know, to me, you're just Dominic the dickhead. And yet, actually, you really come across really well. So I guess we all see each other's through certain lenses, don't we? Yeah.
Vice Chancellor, thank you.
Thank you. Great seeing you. Have a great Christmas.
Boss, thank you. And I'll see you in an hour.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look after yourself. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, boss, no, that's fine. You all right? Thanks, mate. Well, that was one of those moments, team, wasn't it? That was one of those. How about that, Kyles? We're talking about leadership at the university, and then
There's no way in hell I could imagine our VC just dropping in. Like, I think I've seen it twice since I worked here. Wow.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? That's pretty impressive. So, Doug, this is your university, and that's your Vice Chancellor. Oh, thanks for that, Doug. You just nodded.
Yeah, no, it's like when you could say, well, here's what I've done before, and here he comes, and
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
It made sense in my head at the time.
Oh no, it's unbelievable. So, Liam, that was a strange twist on our conversation, wasn't it, brother?
It brought some reality to the context, and what I said about authentic leadership still stands.
Yeah.
You know, we really saw it there, and he's given a lot of time to people who necessarily won't see the Vice Chancellor in their lifetime at CDU. So that's great.
It's amazing. And look, it's a weird thing, Liam, about, because I've been in middle management, as Jamie has been for, probably the last 15 years. And it's a nightmarish job because you get told what to do, and, it destroys yourself, it destroys lives. But I always remember an executive dean wanted to sack a stack of people at one of these regional universities. So the margins are thinner, Liam, as you know. And so she did the big faculty meeting and said she was going to sack, 100 people or whatever. And I made sure that she didn't have to do that, because you know what, if you do exactly what Vice Chancellor Bowman said there, if you lengthen the timelines out, so instead of a quick solution for a month, which involves sacking people, that's the only way you can fix a problem in a month. If you decide, this is a 2-year solution and people naturally leave, people naturally go to different jobs, then those budget issues go away. But it depends on the timeline that you configure. Where are you on this, Kyles?
Yeah, definitely. Being in the acting director role, I've been to a few of these senior leaderships meetings, and same as what you were saying, Liam, you don't hear that context until you're present in something like that, whereas I've tried to bring that down, and we're doing a similar thing over a 2-year time frame, trying to bring us back towards surplus so they don't have to put people off. But the guys on the ground, I've tried to explain it to them in those words. They've never been told that. So luckily I was present to be able to share, whereas our current leader doesn't share that.
Yeah, see, and Liam, I think good, honest leadership. Remember, in universities, people are incredibly bright. And as Jess has said, if we can just self-actualize, if you can get your own, take a breath, get yourself centered and organized, you can come forward with care. But you've got bright people. We may disagree, but you know what? Make the argument, don't assume the argument. Present it, and then followership, which is my particular interest, followership will then occur, Liam.
Well, I've been asked to go into leadership roles in, the last 2 institutions I've been at, and I've always kind of turned it down. I've said, no, that is not for me, and that is not where I see my career going right now. So, I think it's about having the right leadership in place, and, knowing that necessarily at my point in my career, even though I've been going 10 years, it's not the right time for me, and I don't think it would be anytime soon. But I'm just looking at the chart, and some people have said, pack your bag and come to Australia.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, just pack your bag and come. Pack your bag and come. Liam, can I just say something? It's a weird feeling when any of us make a decision about leadership. My decision, if it's helpful for you, brother, came from disgust, came from a truly dreadful. When did I really decide? It was probably when I went to Canada, and the dean was, you know, so toxic that people were killing themselves. I mean, it was just, you know, they were leaving tenured North American posts, topping themselves. And at that point I went, you know, this can't stand. This can't stand. And I don't care how low I have to go in the university sector, where I have to start, but you know what, I do better than this. And so my decision came from disgust. It doesn't necessarily have to come from sort of altruism or, you know, caring for others or all the rest of it. It can come from, I will do less harm than these people. Is that maybe an option for you, Liam? If I were you, I mean, does anyone else feel this? Like Liam, I'd follow Liam anywhere. Yeah, good on you, Doug. Lorraine, anything you want to say to our Liam and leadership?
Well, I'm just still stuck on come over to Australia. I've got spare rooms, lovely. You know, we ended up here because my husband got wheel clamped and he rang me up. He said, I'm sick of this country. Do you want to move? Yeah, okay, where are we going? How about Australia? Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds like fun. And then we were 2 years later, moved over, never been here before. Anyway, yeah, that might not be possible for you or a consideration, but life's about experience and sometimes putting yourself out there and doing something really, really different. Sorry, Tara, I've completely forgot what the question is now because I'm making up his spare bed, you see.
No, well, that's right in your head. No, I could see you doing that. So, Lorraine, the only other question I had for you, because I would follow you anywhere, is how one makes a decision, and it's a frightening decision in life to make that jump into a position where you're going to be at risk, you won't know what's going on, and often called a leadership position. How do you contextually get to that place, Lorraine?
I suppose that all of us were at different timelines, different ages, different career pathways and necessity of income. So I think you have to take in a lot of factors, you know, is this going to damage my career permanently? Can I financially afford to do this? Fortunately, coming from that working class background, money's never been a driver for me. I know that you can live on very, very minimal. And it genuinely does not bring you happiness. It makes you a lot more comfortable when you're miserable having money. I agree with that, but fortunately, it's never been the thing that drives my success. Genuinely is knowing that I've stood by my integrity, which has always been there to remind me in really difficult times, just look down, just keep your integrity, be true to your own values, look yourself in the face. Don't bring yourself down to other people's level ever. Yeah, just keep a check-in. I think keeping a good handle on your outside interests, your relationships with, you know, if you've got a significant other, that's amazing. Maybe, you know, people don't, but friendships, other social groups, it's that whole wellness aspect. I think, you know, what's your food intake? You know, are you being kind to yourself? Are you doing some moderate exercise? Are you in the garden? Are you engaging in nature? Are you picking up a recorder, any kind of instrument, listening to music and nurturing yourself? You know, and if you have those days where you feel sorry for yourself, don't fight it and do, you know, society says, you know, oh, you know, just go, you know what, duvet day, sad film, I'm going to cry, I feel sorry for myself, you know, and then instantly you feel better. So, yeah, I think we're just so caught up with rules and societal expectations. We don't actually give ourselves a chance to just be human and feel the whole range of emotions. You know, there's that unrealistic expectation to be happy all the time. It's not possible. We're humans. We you know, we're meant to be. How do you enjoy the highs if you don't experience the lows, right? So, and it doesn't have to be a permanent state of any mood that we're feeling.
And Lorraine, as always, starts and finishes us with integrity. Colleagues, this has been one of the most astonishingly weird, fabulous hours I think I've spent on the planet. I knew we'd have a special day because we were focusing on our Liam today, and Liam is so precious to us. And we hold you, Liam. We hold you in our hearts. We've got you. Lorraine is making up her spare bed as we speak. And you're very precious to us, as you all are. And so, colleagues, we've shared this time, and I'll see many of you in Right Club. You are all very precious humans, and let's care Let's show compassion. As most of you know, and I have to be so thankful to all of you, Jamie Quinton is flying to Darwin as we speak, colleagues. So thank you for holding us so carefully as well. Much love. See many of you in about a minute's time, but thank you all. And Donna and Liam, sleep well. You're amazing. What an hour.